What if I told you Las Vegas is paying more than $100 million every year to shut itself down for 3 days, all while insisting it's getting richer? The Formula One Grand Prix arrives with promises of a billion-dollar economic windfall, a spectacle of roaring engines and champagne-soaked balconies. But beneath the lights lies a darker truth. Behind every luxury suite sold for $800 a night, local businesses are bleeding. Tourists are turning away, abandoning a city once built on the promise that anyone could touch a slice of luxury. What made Vegas iconic, affordable escapism for ordinary Americans, is now being auctioned to the highest bidder. The numbers don't lie, and they point to something unprecedented. F1 may be the most expensive miscalculation in Vegas's history. When MGM Resorts hikes November room rates by 1,000%, it signals something deeply broken in Vegas's economic engine. The data shows a collision of greed and disastrous forecasting. During the 2025 F1 weekend, a 3-night stay across MGM's 9 properties averaged $1.624, up from last year's already brutal $1.315. The Bellagio, once the symbol of accessible luxury, now demands $2.846. Even the budget strongholds of middle-class tourism, Luxor and Excalibur, charge $582 and $525 for the same period, 5 times their normal November rates. Flights into Vegas jump 15%. A simple airport-to-hotel ride spikes to $50. Strip restaurants enforce $500 minimums while fast food counters double their prices. It's a coordinated financial siege, and visitors know it. Behavioral economics calls it price anchoring gone wrong. Once prices rise this far, the damage to consumer perception becomes permanent, and Vegas is already feeling the burn. Visitor volumes dropped 7.2% through September 2025. Air passenger traffic fell 5.8%. 40 million annual middle-class visitors are being replaced by 317,000 race attendees who spend less than the city claims. This isn't evolution, it's cannibalization. Vegas is consuming its own customer base to feed an event that gives back a fraction of what it takes. Officials love to boast about Formula One's projected billion-dollar impact, but under real scrutiny, the numbers collapse. Liberty Media and local leaders point to a $934 million economic impact in 2024, with claims that 2025 will cross the billion-dollar line. Yet the March 2025 LV Sports Biz analysis revealed the truth. Economists long suspected this figure counts gross spending, not net benefit. After subtracting subsidies, diverted tourist dollars, and operational costs, the real economic injection falls to just $300 million. That's a 70% evaporation rate. Instead of an investment, F1 becomes a wealth transfer from taxpayers to a European-owned racing empire. The subsidy structure alone should alarm any fiscal conservative. Vegas hands out $112 million in direct annual subsidies, waives additional fees, and covers police overtime. Track construction and teardown add another $100 million per event. Clark County's $51.5 million contribution means taxpayers pay roughly $160 per attendee just to host them. Compare this to events like EDC, which generates $400 million without a single public subsidy, or NFL games that use existing infrastructure. Traditional economic multipliers don't apply here either. F1's ultra-wealthy visitors arrive on private jets, stay in corporate-owned luxury suites, dine at exclusive venues, and extract profits directly offshore. A Stanford study shows their spending generates a multiplier of just 0.6 to 0.8, less than $1 of real local activity for each dollar spent. Vegas is told it's getting richer, but the numbers say otherwise. For 3 weeks every November, the Las Vegas Strip transforms from the most profitable mile of real estate in America into a locked-down construction corridor. It becomes a militarized zone where only one entity wins Formula One. Everyone else pays. Foot traffic near Strip-adjacent retail collapsed 23.4% during the 2024 foreclosures. Some businesses saw revenue fall more than 40%. Batista's hole in the wall, Jay's Market, and others are now suing F1 and Clark County, claiming the 2024 losses were even worse than 2023. The logistical damage spirals outward. Delivery trucks can't reach restaurants. Inventory spoils. Workers face 2-hour commutes for shifts that normally take 20 minutes. Employers pay overtime or lose staff entirely. And towering over all of it is the Bellagio Fountain Club construction, blocking 2 lanes for 6 weeks and cutting off one of Vegas's most iconic free attractions, an attraction whose foot traffic value is estimated at $50 million annually. The Strip is a linear economy. When you block its artery, the entire system suffocates. Barriers turn businesses into dead zones. Public transit bypasses stops. Taxis refuse pickups. Rideshares double or triple. Economists call it accessibility poverty when the cost of reaching a destination exceeds the value of going there. Small businesses running on 5–10% profit margins cannot survive 3 weeks of 40% losses, and the fallout is permanent. For every business that closes, Vegas loses 12 to 15 jobs, multiplying the collapse across the local economy. Las Vegas was built on one promise: ordinary Americans could feel like high rollers for a weekend without destroying their budget. But F1 is dismantling the very demographic that made Vegas an empire. The city is replacing dependable middle-class visitors who came 3 to 4 times a year with ultra-wealthy attendees who show up once, spend narrowly, and never return. The numbers are stark. A typical Vegas visitor earned $65,000 to $80,000 a year, stayed 3.4 nights, and spent around $650 each trip. F1 guests often earn over $300,000, but their spending is concentrated, isolated, and insufficient to compensate for the millions of middle-income tourists being pushed away. Convention business, the hidden $11 billion backbone of Vegas, is cracking. Trade shows are avoiding November entirely. CES considered relocating after attendees complained about inflated prices and lingering construction. Medical conventions with 50,000 attendees are scouting other cities. Once a major convention leaves, only 30% ever return within 5 years. Tourism psychology is turning violently against Vegas. Researchers call it destination intimidation when a city becomes perceived as too expensive, too exclusive, or simply not for people like us. Middle-class travelers don't delay. They erase the destination from their mental map. Social media accelerates this collapse. Posts about $50 Uber rides and $2 $800 hotel rooms spread virally, crafting a new narrative: Vegas has abandoned regular Americans. Recovery from this reputational damage can take 7 to 10 years, far longer than any short-term revenue burst from F1. Tourism gets the headlines, but the deepest cuts happen in real estate. F1 has turned the Las Vegas property market into a speculative battlefield, inflating prices and pushing locals out of their own city. Commercial property along the Strip has surged 35% in value since the race was announced, not because of real improvements, but because developers are betting on race-adjacent profits. This inflation spreads outward like shockwaves. Residential neighborhoods miles away from the track now carry artificial premiums. Henderson homes in proximity zones are up 15 to 20% despite receiving zero tangible benefit from the event. The short-term rental market has become a weapon. Landlords are converting long-term apartments into Airbnb units priced solely for race weekend, where a 2-bedroom that normally rents for $1,500 a month suddenly becomes a $2,000 per night cash grab. Clark County estimates 3,000 long-term units have evaporated since F1 arrived. All this in a city where median home prices have risen 40% since 2020, while incomes grew only 12%. Teachers, nurses, casino workers, the people who keep Vegas alive, are being priced out by a 3-day spectacle that gives nothing back. Developers are chasing F1-driven luxury projects instead of essential housing. The $4.3 billion racing village planned near the track will feature condos starting at $2 million marketed to international buyers who will occupy them for 3 days a year. Urban economists call this event capture, when a single event warps an entire market away from sustainable development towards speculative bubbles that collapse as soon as the hype fades. The cost isn't just financial, it's human. City officials insist F1 is elevating Las Vegas onto the world stage, but the data tells a darker story. Tourism is down 7.2%. Small businesses are suing to survive. Middle-class visitors are vanishing, and taxpayers are funding a billionaire spectacle that extracts more than it ever returns. Vegas didn't partner with F1, it subsidized it. It paid for it. It bent its economy, its streets, its identity around a 3-day event designed for the ultra-rich. The promise was global prestige. The cost is a fractured local economy and a city losing the very people who made it thrive. This isn't revitalization, it's erosion. Vegas once sold dreams. Now it's selling access to those wealthy enough to afford it. The soul of the city, built on the idea that anyone could play, is slipping away under the weight of luxury boxes, barricades, and subsidies disguised as investments. The numbers aren't just concerning, they're undeniable. When you strip away the fireworks, the private jet runways, and the billion-dollar headlines, one truth remains: Formula One isn't elevating Las Vegas, it's draining it. The city is spending over $100 million a year to host an event that delivers only a fraction of its promised impact. Local businesses lose weeks of revenue. Workers endure impossible commutes. Middle-class tourists, the lifeblood of Vegas for decades, are turning away. Real estate is warping into a speculative bubble. Housing is tightening. Public funds flow upward into corporate pockets. all while Vegas leaders insist the city is winning. But the numbers, every one of them say the opposite. F1 didn't just bring a race, it brought an economic model built on extraction. The city that once promised affordable escapism is now pricing out the very people who made it iconic. Vegas gambled its identity on a 3-day spectacle, and the house for once didn't win. Has F1 ruined Las Vegas? Or is this just the beginning of a much deeper decline?